Dealing with constant changes, not easy. Letting go of my inner perfectionist, not easy. But crossing a few things off my financial to-do list, surprisingly simple.
Regions' tools and advice make it easy to manage your money. From podcasts and webinars to budget and savings calculators, we'll help you find your financial comfort zone.
Those few little financial tweaks have made a big difference.
Check off some financial to-dos at regions.com/bravethebeginning. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Live from the Subaru of Gwinnett Studio, inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel, it's time for Regions Business Radio. Regions Business Radio is presented by Regions Bank. Brave the beginning. Member FDIC. Now, here's your host, J.D. Mealor.
Thank you, Mike Salmon, for that introduction again. We appreciate that. You sound like you're live with me. Appreciate you. So welcome to Regions Business Radio, Episode 4. It is March 12th, 2021, and there's a lot going on in the business world, in our culture, in our society, and we're happy that you've chosen to spend a few minutes with us to hear a little bit about what's going on at Regions Bank. I got a great guest with me today, good friend Ty Smith. He runs our private wealth group. I'm going to introduce him to you more robustly here in a few minutes. But, so welcome to Regions Business Radio again. Just a couple things to touch bases on currently. Talk for a moment about what's being referred to as PPP2. All banks, a lot of small businesses, certainly at Regions, we're throwing a lot of resources, rightfully so, at the PPP2 stimulus program. Just want to mention to our listeners that if you haven't consulted with your CPA to consider if round 2 of PPP is appropriate for your company, we encourage you to do that. Always consult with your tax advisor in making those decisions. But PPP2 will close out at the end of March as it currently sits. So if you're a small to mid-sized business and you have yet to apply for the second round of PPP, please do consult with your CPA or tax consultant and apply at your bank. We sponsor the show, and it's called Regions Business Radio, but we respect relationships. So if you're a small business owner, executive, and you haven't applied yet, please talk to your CPA and your bank because there is a need for these funds, and we encourage you all to do that. Also, we're in tax season. Our CPA friends, those that are listening and those that are too busy to listen because they're pushing a lot of paper right now, it is tax season. A lot of decisions are being made both professionally and personally in regards to everything from distributions to capital expenditures, IRA contributions for 2020, things of that nature. I would just and if you go back to our first episode with Jeff Forstall CPAs, we had sort of a roundtable geek session around how tax strategy affects how you look to your bank. So I'd be remiss if I didn't sort of echo that a little bit and say, certainly follow the advice of your CPA, but remember, sometimes those decisions that you make in regards to tax planning can have an effect on how your financials look to a lending institution. And I do think that that's a fair conversation that all business owners should have with their CPA. It's sort of duofold. It is, how do we manage our tax liability? And if I do this, how do I look to my bank? Remember, if you're an executive or a business owner and you have, for example, lines of credit or term debt, the decisions that you make may impact things like a debt service coverage covenant that you may have, or if you take a lot of cash out of the company at the end of the year and it affects your balance sheet, then your bank may have some questions about that, and rightfully so if you have a lot of credit outstanding. So just given this time of year and my intro, I just thought that I would remind everyone that's listening, number one, look at PPP if you haven't, and number two, do include your banker in your conversation with your year-end tax planning with your tax consultant. So just a couple of ideas there for you as you run your business, regardless of how complex. I would say include your banker in those conversations with your CPA. So that's our intro today. I'm very excited about my guest, as I mentioned a few moments ago. But before I ask him to introduce himself, we do have an additional disclaimer today that I'm going to read for our audience. And because of the nature of our conversation today and Ty's responsibility at the bank, we need to disclose this. Investments are not FDIC insured, are not bank guaranteed. They may lose value and are not deposits, are not a condition of any banking activity, and are not insured by any government entity. This information is provided for educational and general marketing purposes only and should not be construed as a recommendation or suggestion as to the advisability of acquiring, holding, or disposing of a particular investment, nor should it be construed as a suggestion or indication that the particular investment or investment course of action described herein is appropriate for any specific investor. We're not giving investment advice today, but I am introducing you to a great banker, an excellent man, and a great leader, and his name is Ty Smith. Ty, welcome to the show today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, JD, for having me on. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, we're happy that you're here, not only on the show, but your tenure with Regions is settling in, but we're both kind of still new guys, so welcome there as well. How's it been for you since you've joined?
Oh, it's great. You know, my 2-year anniversary is going to be coming up in April, so I'm looking forward to that. And Regions, for me, has just been a world-class organization. I just sincerely enjoy the people that I have the pleasure of working with every day. It's been great to tag team with you on different opportunities, serving clients and trying to be out in the marketplace. I love where the company is headed in terms of just our senior leadership and the path and the roadmap that we've got set forth. It's nothing but upside for us. Really exciting.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, our teams work well together. I think we both share a lot of great talent in the market, and we're both trying to build something new together. So I'm excited about that. So prior to Regions, where were you kicking around and what were you doing?
Sure. I had worked at a few firms that some of the folks on might be familiar with way, way long ago. I had started my career with an organization named First Union, which I'm sure folks are familiar with out in the marketplace, and then Wachovia, Wells Fargo, a little bit of time at PNC, and then joined Regions just shy of 2 years ago. All of those organizations were just great foundational pieces for me to make me and sort of get me to the place where I'm at today. When I think about those aspects of my career, I mean, there were times where I was working in the branches, working as an assistant branch manager, working the teller line and fixing the ATM and doing those kind of things, and then managing the overall branch, moving over into the investment world and working with clients. I've spent quite a bit of time on the investment side of our business, being a portfolio manager, actually managing client portfolios and making those decisions of Coke versus Pepsi. Of course, Coke, or someone like that always did favorably if I was in Atlanta. Along with just helping clients build just great portfolios that really could stand the test of time. I'd spent a little bit of time on the charitable side of our business, just working with clients who had foundations and endowments or wanted to create donor advised funds, those kind of vehicles. And then in another role, I worked on the institutional side, which is a little bit closer to you, working with 401k clients, pension plans, foundation endowment assets, just a well-rounded portfolio that's led me to this role of being with Regions and as the private wealth executive for the region.
Yeah. Well, what an impressive title, by the way.
Thank you. Somebody had to make that up, right?
Yeah. Well, we are blessed to have you, and our customers, our clients are blessed to have you. And the team you've built is really, really strong. Stellar, great experience, and your leadership thereof, I think, is making a huge impact across our footprint as it relates to us specifically. And let's just say North Georgia, but give me a feel for your vision for sort of North Georgia and specifically the Gwinnett area. Do you know it well? Do we got some strategies around here? Just talk Gwinnett for a second.
Sure. Well, What's so exciting for me is if you look at the path that just the greater Georgia, Atlanta region is on for what our future looks like. And there's lots of statistics that you can find out there at the ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission, that just talks about the growth that's expected. There are certain counties like Gwinnett that are just going to explode in terms of population, business owners, opportunity, and that just gives everyone an opportunity to thrive and be successful. And so I'm excited about that. Atlanta has been just an incredible home for me. I've been here twice. I was here the first time from 1998 to 2004, and then I've been back the second time from 2010 to present. And so Atlanta, I originally grew up in Virginia, and that's my original home, but Atlanta really has become my second home and just a dynamic place to work. With lots of great people. And really, if you don't mind, I'd love to just take a second just to talk about the team that we've assembled to go to market and what that looks like and why it's important. And what that means is, so my role is I'm the regional private wealth executive, really covering Georgia and South Carolina, but certainly Atlanta, Gwinnett, all the surrounding counties are a huge focus of that and part of our growth plan. And when I think about how we go to market, there's a couple of different team members that you would see that really play a major part on our wealth team, helping us take care of clients. And so you have me as the lead executive, and along with how we go to market, you're typically going to see a wealth advisor who probably would be the first person that a client gets to meet. And that wealth advisor, their role is to think broadly across anything and everything that could be happening in a client's financial picture, whether that's credit opportunities. Hey, I'd love to consider a mortgage for that beach house I'm looking at, or that aspirational cabin in the woods that I always wanted. Whether that client or prospect has questions around investments, trust, wills, estate planning, whatever, insurance needs. Mm-hmm. That wealth advisor is thinking broadly across that spectrum of what possibly could happen, what's important to this client, and most importantly, trying to be a good listener. Ooh. And understanding their mission, their vision, their values, and where that client or where that family wants to go.
I'm calling a timeout. That is incredible. And we got more people to introduce. And this is just how it rolls with me. So you want your folks to be a good listener.
Yeah.
We espouse that too on the commercial side. How is that different from advisors of the past?
I think what's happened relative to what's happened in the past is, we as advisors have to continually refine and bring our A game every day and challenge ourselves to just get that 10 or 20% better every year, every day we're on stage. Mm-hmm. And I found over time where we really bring value is, instead of being in the client session and thinking about, okay, here are the different buckets or here are the different needs that a client might have, the value we bring is probably asking the questions that the client hasn't even asked or answered themselves, almost kind of leading them to their own epiphanies, and or realizing that, gosh, now that I think about it, or now that you've explained this to me, I didn't realize I had that much of a gap in terms of an insurance need. Wow. I didn't realize, hey, I'm running this thriving business. We're doing well in terms of driving revenue. But, the last time I looked at protecting my stay-at-home spouse or my children, the last time I checked on this, I had just a small term life insurance policy for $250,000, and I've grown 10x over that amount. I didn't realize I wasn't protected. And so by asking the right questions in that session and really trying to unlock what's important to the client, what are the things that are keeping them awake at night, where aspirationally are they trying to go, and really trying to understand them well, what you begin to see happen in these relationships is you almost start to turn the corner to where the client connects with you and they really start to understand, this person gets me. This person understands me. They understand how important my children are. They understand the importance of, I've got a special needs child at home that I haven't planned for, and if my wife and I were to disappear, who's going to take care of them and ensure and protect their future?
Yeah.
Those are the real questions that are keeping people up at night. And for us to have the opportunity to sit side by side with clients and align with them strategically to pursue those goals, fulfill those goals, and give them peace of mind that everything's going to be okay is honestly an awesome responsibility that we have every day that we get to fulfill. And that's why I'm so excited about the role.
Yeah, you bring up, I love these conversations. You bring up, we celebrate on the commercial side. If we're ever in a meeting and a client or a prospect responds akin to, well, I've never thought of that before. We feel like we've done a really good job of asking the right questions if we hear that from a customer. And it sounds to me, I have way back in my history, a period at a brokerage house. And the senior partner would send me to the fax machine. I'd get the sell sheet. I'd get the buy sheet. And, we'd have to call all of our customers and sell the sales and buy the buys. That's not what you're doing.
No, not at all. We first seek to understand. We first seek to, I've been in sessions where we've probably spent the first hour, hour and a half, 2 hours simply asking questions, trying to understand what's important, what's critical to you. What are those pieces of your picture that you haven't solved for, that have been bothering you, that sort of are in the back of your mind? Mm-hmm. We need to get to that place first in terms of connecting with clients before we have any sort of recommendation as to where they need to go or how they should pivot. Yeah.
And that brings up a good conversational point too. And I know we got more to talk about, but the idea behind it is we may have the answers that our clients are looking for, but we don't go into the meeting just offering up answers. You get what I'm saying? There's got to be a back and forth, and you guys do a really good job with that.
Yeah, there has to be.
We've had experiences, shared experiences, of course, no names, where those meetings occur, and people, that light bulb goes off on top of their head that we haven't thought of that before. So private wealth advisors are sort of the quarterback. They're sort of the person that takes the lead. Who else do we have on our team to? Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry to go back to this. As I hear you talking, I want to take 2 steps back. Paint a picture for me real quick for the rest of the conversation of who in our audience are we talking to? We say prospect, we say client. If there's somebody listening, they've downloaded this or we've sent it out and they're listening to it now. In your mind, who is it? Who is it that we're talking to?
Sure. Well, and really to answer that question, it probably makes sense to paint the picture of how Regions goes to market and serves clients. Okay. And so we've got incredible resources. When you think about probably the first touch point for most of our clients, it's going to be our consumer channel led by Sharon Hightower, who just does a fantastic job, and our branch network, right? And so that branch network is out there heavy in our communities here in the local area, and that network can serve people all up and down the scale, whether it's the traditional person who's maybe working at the tire factory, whether it's the corporate executive who's running a dynamic business, whether it's that doctor and she's driving her practice and taking great care of patients. We can serve everybody. But I think what happens is as those individuals and families start to build their wealth and they start to get this feeling of, hey, I've got a little something here. I want to watch this a little closer. I'd love to get some additional advice because we're talking, some real money here at this point. Probably when clients start to approach that, $500,000, $1 million and above sort of liquidity place, where they're looking at, hey, I'm busy doing what I do to drive results, but I'd like to have someone else sort of get into the picture and maybe give me some insightful advice around my investments, or hey, are my ducks in a row when it comes to estates or wills or planning, or for those who might be left behind if I'm not here. Once they start to get into those levels of probably $500,000 or $1 million of liquidity, maybe an overall net worth that's getting into that 3, 5, 10 million range, that's really where we serve clients well and do our best work.
And is that assets acquired through just business income? Is it? Do you really care where the assets come from, or just that they're
there? And that's all over the map. So we've got folks who are traditional, workers in corporate America, and they've built up big IRAs, big 401ks. Maybe they're IRAs that they've rolled over to an investment firm from a different provider when they left that company after 10 years of service. We've got business owners who, and a lot of business owners that we work with, have incredible amounts of wealth inside their business, and they have a reasonable amount of liquidity, but they may not see really, really significant liquidity until there's that business sale or that transaction, or maybe their business has gone from 10 million in revenue to 20 or 30 or 50, And they've gone from paying themselves, $300,000 a year to, hey, now I'm paying myself $500,000 or $750,000, and I can afford to make some other moves or take some other chances or invest a different way and grow my wealth a different way, diversify things a little bit. So it's all over the map in terms of what our ideal prospect look like, and they come from all those different walks of life.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm sorry to chase down there. I just thought if somebody's listening and they're saying, well, I wonder if Ty's talking about me. The answer is yes.
Yes, we're talking about you. Let me be clear. We are talking about you.
Yes, and we have a great team. So Private Wealth Advisors, our quarterback, and then what happens after that?
And then really working side by side with our wealth advisors, you would find probably 3 or 4 other team members who just do an excellent job. In this market, we've got approximately 25 team members who are out serving the private wealth space. And so along with those of us who are executives who are leading our business, and then you've got the wealth advisor who really, as I said, is the point of attack, working with the clients. Side by side with them would be typically a trust advisor. And that trust advisor would normally be just a deep fiduciary expert who probably would have a great understanding of different trust vehicles, estate planning techniques, making sure that documents are in order. And we don't do that by ourselves. We're doing that side by side with a client's CPAs, their attorney. So our approach isn't to come in and displace anyone that is currently working with clients. It's really to complement the work that's going on and make an even more well-rounded team in terms of how we serve you, the client.
Gotcha.
So you've got the trust advisor that's in there. You're going to have a portfolio manager. We've got a couple of folks here in the local market who are just great at what they do, and they're going to be the folks that are watching the money. That's the person that we want sort of staring at that screen, going from red to green. Red being a bad day, green being a good day, and helping make good long-term sound investment decisions. Our team members, portfolio managers, aren't day traders. That's not the business that we serve. We're really longer-term asset managers.
Okay.
Trying to pull together just the smartest and the best and the brightest in the business to build portfolios that can stand the test of time.
When you say asset managers, are we only talking about stock bond portfolios?
No. Along with doing that type of more traditional work, we also have expertise in real estate. We have a real estate professional that's here in the local market, natural resources, oil, gas, timber, all those different aspects of what we do to serve clients are here located in the Georgia, Atlanta market. And that's exciting because those are real components of a client's picture.
Yeah.
Clients just don't own stocks and bonds.
That's right.
There may be that, hey, I've got 200 acres of pine located in far south Georgia. There may be those, yes, I've got some different interest or mineral rights or things like that I've inherited over time, maybe from a parent that's passed away. So it goes beyond just the traditional investments. It's anything and everything that could be in a client's picture. We've encountered situations where clients have 50 or 100 rental properties that they've just amassed over the course of time. And they're looking for, hey, as I start to age out and as I'm looking forward to retiring and doing something that I actually enjoy, maybe not managing real estate day to day, how can I partner with someone to help exit out of those transactions or monetize those assets and resources, or just come up with a better plan because it's getting a little bit unwieldy trying to manage all that. So we have the capability to serve all those needs.
Just sort of going back, I'm thinking about our branch personnel. I always love to try and recognize some of them just because they're in the market. We always mention Kathy Haywood and Dwayne Coleman. That's Duluth and Swanee. We got Raquel Smith out in Decula and others. I mean, from top to bottom, meaning either way you go, our broad team is high quality, engaging, always looking to help. And I think that partnership works really well because our core values at Regions sort of flow through all of us. So we got trust advisors, we got portfolio managers, what I'm hearing you talk about is we're building a team around a family or around an individual to help them accomplish now as I sort of get older, I'm beginning to think about things dramatically differently than I did even 5 years ago.
We can help you too, JD. You're in there. We're also speaking to you.
I don't qualify. But the idea is a team of professionals. And you mentioned it. I think it bears worth repeating that we're not looking just to say, hey, we're the exclusive, team for you. We are part of the exclusive team that includes your current, like you said, CPA, tax advisor, attorney. Who did we miss on our team? Because
the other critical role that's on our team would be the wealth strategist. And it sounds kind of similar to wealth advisor. You've got wealth advisor thinking broadly across lots of different needs that a client may present. The wealth strategist, some people may think of them sort of along those lines of a financial planner or someone in that world. I really think the value that a wealth strategist brings to the table, along with all those other team members, is that's really going to be the individual that helps understand the complete financial picture and plan that a client may have, almost sort of like creating a life plan. And I think once we understand the different components of what's out there in a client's financial picture, we've got some really great tools that give us the ability to sort of put all that into some software and some different resources that we use and really help model out for a client. Okay, if my goal is I want to retire in 10 years, I'm at a great company, or hey, I'm a thriving doctor and I'm running a great practice with lots of clients, how do I get home over the next 10 years if that's my goal? If I'm making X level of income, maybe there's an inheritance that's coming on board, unfortunately, from a parent that may be deceased or something like that. What does the total picture look like? And that's really the role that they fulfill, is joining us to pull together that complete picture and really do some modeling and take a look at some scenarios of, hey, even if we have a COVID situation take place that just, sort of came out of left field and surprised everybody, or another .com bust. I mean, there's always going to be something that happens that upsets the market or creates or puts us all back on our heels a little bit. The next one could be a couple of years out. I mean, who knows? That's the value of having a plan. And I think where you see clients have lots of confidence is when they have a plan, when they stick with the plan during rough times, we're able to refocus them on their plan. And part of that refocus is, okay, even though there's been a blip that has, made things go sideways here for the past 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, maybe it's another 6 months where we're enduring the COVID situation. The value here is, as long as we're sticking to the plan, as long as we're sticking to do what we committed to do, at some point when we get to 5 years, 8 years, 10 years out, this is going to look like a blip on that radar screen in terms of what unfolded. And we're still going to be tracking right toward the goals that we sat down and set for you 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the value of having a plan, is staying focused on executing the plan.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Staying focused and executing is, I would think, as you're explaining the team, I would think much like us in the commercial side, a difficult piece of it is we've shared all this information. We've collected your information, Mr. and Ms. Client. You've shared with us where you want to go. We've given you the roadmap to get you there. What's holding us back from going? You get to a point where it all sounds good, and then work takes over, or something happens at a client's business, and then it gets pushed to the back burner again. You got to stick with this stuff. Yeah,
you do, and there's another group that helps support the team, and I can't forget about them. It's really our assistant population. And so even though you may have a trust advisor, wealth advisor, portfolio manager, a wealth strategist out there taking care of clients, the reality is we have an incredible group of assistants that are supporting the work that we do day to day to keep things moving. And so whether it's, paperwork or wire transfers or moving money or just getting things set up and established or working with our operational teams to make sure that clients get onboarded properly, that they have a great client experience every single day, it's really our assistant population that steps in there and also supports all those other team members I mentioned. And so we've got a fantastic group. I enjoy working with them day to day, and quite frankly, they're the real brains of the operation. The rest of us are just out here playing our role.
Yeah, well, most of the time our customers think of them before they ever think of us.
They do, and they probably touch them 5 to 10 times, almost sometimes more than they touch our actual advisors.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. You mentioned COVID. It's prompted a lot of people to look at their own financial situation. How has this pandemic, number one, affected your interaction with your clients, and then number two, sort of overall from a planning standpoint? Because we're still here. I look at the numbers every day. It's still somewhat I don't know if I want to say political or cultural, but it's still with us.
It is, clearly.
So how's that impacted values or portfolios, or how you first off, let's talk about how you interact with your clients, because that's changed dramatically.
It has. And I think for all of us, I mean, this has just been a real big learning experience in lots of different ways. And certainly there are some folks who had unfortunate outcomes and lost family members or lost friends. I've got a couple of those situations, and I'm sure most people know someone that's been affected by this. And certainly all of us have really been on lockdown for some degree and not able to do some of the things that we wanted, or children haven't been in school and whatnot. But I think as it relates to specifically our business and private wealth, I think it was really an incredible opportunity for us to engage and interact with our clients a different way. Typically we may have these 3 or 4 team members, that are traveling around the marketplace and trying to connect with a client in their businesses or at their homes or whatever it might be, whatever's convenient for them. And for this to flip fairly quickly to trying to engage by phone and conference calls, but also to use those resources like Zoom or WebEx or Teams or just different video conferencing methods. And probably the thing I personally enjoy the most when we're engaging with clients in that manner, now we might have 1 or 2 members sitting in a Charleston interacting with a client at their business or at their home, and there could be 3 of us in Atlanta, still being a material part of the conversation with the video screen or the laptop sitting right there in front of the client, and they're able to ask me questions or jump into in another question asked by the wealth strategist or some other team member, or ask investment questions. As you know, those tools have the ability to share screen so that the client can be looking at the exact same screen that someone is sitting remote. And also, we can paint the screen, color the screen, or move our mouse around the screen and say, hey, I'm talking about these lines or this section over here, just to make sure that we're drawing the client's eyes to exactly where we're trying to focus and making sure they're coming with us in the conversation instead of moving too fast. So I think that's been a real business benefit in terms of, certainly in terms of travel and cost and that expense. It's been great for our safety, team members as well as clients, to just stay protected until we continue to work through this and not put people at undue risk. But I think the other thing that's happened is if you look at most major companies, I'm sure most major companies have an IT, information technology roadmap of where they're trying to go. And that roadmap could be 3, 5, 7 years out of bringing on new technologies, new software enhancements. As it relates to the banking world, that could be enhancing the way we're doing digital banking, mobile banking, digital payments, underwriting for loans, credit, e-signature, DocuSign. I mean, all of those different tools and techniques of what it really takes to do business from a banking perspective. At our company, those initiatives got fast-tracked.
Yes, they did.
Rapidly.
You're exactly right.
And that was a lot to digest in a year. And there's still some of that's ongoing. And so we certainly felt that. And there was, and that's not even bringing PPP into the picture of the technologies and the resources that had to be created rapidly to serve all of the business clients that we work with today who wanted to partake in those programs. And so there was a lot of work going on over the past 12 months from a technology perspective to come to market, better speed to market, serving clients well. Hey, if we've got a little bit of excess time, let's go ahead and fast track something that may have been 3 or 5 years out on the roadmap and push that into year 1 or year 2. And it's made us a better business.
Yeah. So I like to think that using technology for those types of meetings are going to make us more efficient in the future. Because of your point, we can have more people on the screen with one interaction. It's going to be more cost effective. It makes me wonder about the future of office buildings.
Yes.
Not to scare anybody, but it makes you wonder how that's going to look in the future. There's a question that popped into my mind when you were talking just then, and I think that we can talk about this, and it's related to this. There is a ton there for PPP contributes to this. There's a ton of cash.
Yes. On
balance sheets, both personal and commercial. At the same time, interest rates on savings are virtually non-existent. So I'm not going into the details. We're not looking, as we mentioned before, to give advice. But from a conversational standpoint, from a strategy type of standpoint, what should individuals or business owners, what steps should they take to engage someone to have a conversation about, I'm making nothing on this savings account. Is there something else to do? And I'm not asking you to tell them what that something is, but what process do we take to have that
absolutely.
conversation?
And that's a great question. And JD, that is honestly a question we get multiple times a week, several times a day. There's just a lot of frustration out there in the marketplace, as you said, with money market rates are at historic lows, savings CD rates are at historic lows, and all of those different vehicles can have a place in a client's picture, along with longer term investments that might have more volatility, like stocks or bonds and whatnot. And so it's a really frustrating place, I think, for clients to be that, hey, I may have had this cash or this liquidity sitting in the bank or sitting at any other financial provider. It's not paying me what I used to pay. The market obviously has experienced an incredible amount of volatility in the past 2 or 3 weeks, and that a lot of those technology companies that thrived and did really, really well during the COVID period that were able to just lever up quickly and create incredible efficiencies very rapidly in COVID. Over the past couple of weeks, you've seen some of those, some of the favorite names that are out there take a hit. And so there's a lot of people who are struggling with, okay, where do I go in the middle of this? And where should I be? And I think that question gets back to the issue of diversification. And what does that mean? And I think diversification takes on lots of different shapes. And here's what I mean by that. The way that we go to market and the way that we build portfolios, we're not going to bet or have huge allocations to single names that are some of the favorite names that you see out there in the marketplace. You certainly may see that in a client portfolio, or you may see that in some of the underlying assets in some of the vehicles that we pick. But part of doing the math and understanding what do you actually have and what do you own is understanding if you've got 3 or 4 different vehicles in an equity portfolio, are different managers buying those same favorite names, and now do you have multiple overlap or 3x the exposure that you thought you had? And so we're trying to build complementary portfolios, as I said, that are going to weather the test of time and do well during lots of different periods, and not just bet on sort of the favorite sectors that have done well. I think the one thing that COVID really exposed during this period for lots of clients was it really helped them think through, where are my risk points? Where do I have too much focus in my financial picture? And that was something that we helped address. And what I mean by that is, we had lots of business owners who had thriving businesses. Some of those businesses were surprised in COVID. Some of those businesses thrived in COVID. So it was a very wide spectrum of who did what and who was able to succeed over the past 12 months. And I think what some business owners realized was, you know what, I've had everything in my business. It's basically my baby. It's my child. And I know that better than anybody else. And I can make 10, 15% of my business every year because I do X and I'm great at it. But if they happen to be in a business that unfortunately didn't do well during this period, or maybe suffered a bigger hit than what they would have expected, now this has unlocked an opportunity to, you know what, next time this happens, or when there's a crisis or a scare or whatever it might be, now I think I want to pivot and have maybe some more assets in cash, maybe some assets that are income producing real estate properties. Maybe I need to have a little bit more in traditional stocks and bonds. I need to round out my financial picture instead of betting on black every single time in my business. And we would be the last person to tell someone that they can't run a thriving business. I mean, some folks have been running these businesses for 10, 15, 20 years, and they are exceptional at what they do day to day. And for us to be able to partner and work side by side with them is really, we're fortunate to be able to do that. But we're also good at the part of the business that we know, which is creating a sound financial plan and a sound financial strategy that is going to allow you to sleep at night, know that your family, your heirs and loved ones are taken care of, and know that, hey, the next time this happens, hey, you know what? I addressed that 5 years ago with a great team working at Regions Bank. I know they've built a great plan for me, and we're going to execute the plan. We're going to stick to the plan, and I'm not going to let what's happening right now that may be a temporary blip for 6, 12, or 18 months distract me from where I'm trying to go 5, 7, 10 years out. That's the value we bring to the table.
Gotcha. In Gwinnett, from June 30th, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, in June of 19, there were $18 billion in deposits in the Gwinnett market. In June of 2020, there were $19 billion. Went up $1 billion.
That's a lot.
There's a lot of cash out there, too.
It is.
How much of that would you like to manage?
Oh, we'll take it all. we can serve clients well across the whole spectrum. Whether they're in the consumer channel that we discussed, our branch network, whether those clients want to meet with some of our team members in private wealth, whether it's a great alignment with you over on the commercial side of our house. We just want to work with great people who are advice seeking, realize they have needs, and Regions would love to find a way to serve you and your family.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we've had those conversations you mentioned you're getting these calls every day. Some of them are from our customers. We got this cash, what do we do? And it's not just, well, put it in this fund, or it's we step into action when we get that question.
Yes.
And I think that's what separates us. It's not a foregone conclusion that because this worked for XYZ company or ABC family, everybody's different. Everybody has a different set of priorities, different set of needs, different experiences, and we customize, tailor, and engage our roadmap for them based on those experiences and those goals. So
absolutely, and to be honest with you, there are a number of clients and prospects that we've met with where after we sit down and spend time with them and examine what they've got, we actually confirm you're in great shape. You've done a phenomenal job aligning with great partners in terms of your tax attorney, CPA, or setting up your wills and estates or those kind of strategies. Hey, it looks like you've made some great decisions in your investment portfolio. And if that's an advisor you've been with for 10, 15 years, yes, we'd love to have an opportunity to work with you and serve you better or a different way. But there are times where we do encounter situations where clients have actually done pretty well with their planning. And they're actually on a great track. And if we can round that out or serve them in a different way down the road, we'd love to do that.
Well, you think about I love that point. And I say that to the commercial team all the time. Hey, we're not obligated to say that something's wrong if something is absolutely right. And I think in the long term, that is the foundation of a meaningful relationship, whether it's personal, commercial, or otherwise.
It is. It builds trust and credibility.
Oh, it does. You're so right.
I tell prospects all the time, I'm not here to sell you anything.
That's right.
That's not what I do day to day. I'm here to listen and uncover, understand what's important to you. Where are you trying to go? What are those things that keep you up at night? What are the things that you might share with me that you haven't shared with a commercial banker? What are those things going on in terms of family dynamics where, I've got a thriving business, I've got a great medical practice or whatever it might be, but you know what? I'm concerned that my 22-year-old who's a recent college graduate isn't going to make it or needs a little bit more structure in their life. And if I'm not here and if he inherits my 2, 3, 5 million, I'm concerned about what's going to happen. Yeah. And I've got to come up with a plan. That's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, those are real.
Those are real, emotional, personal questions. And when we as advisors can stop the selling and start advising and start solving, when we can get to that level of intimacy with clients to where that kind of conversation gets out on the table, that's where the real work happens.
And I think that's a great place to wrap it up, because you've identified exactly who we are as an entity, as a business, as a bank, as a partner. Is nowhere across our bank do we consider ourselves or fancy ourselves salespeople. I like to think of us as relationship builders.
Yes.
If my wife's name is Amy. If we go a few weeks and haven't spoken to each other, something's wrong.
You got to do some relationship building.
Yes, yeah, some relationship repair or whatever the case may be. And the same thing applies in business. I mean, if you're doing business with Regions Bank, whether it's our private wealth group or our commercial group or our consumer group, you should expect to hear from us. We should have an ongoing dialogue about what's important to both of us. How are we going to accomplish together what we've set out to do? I've seen that repeatedly from your team, and I think that under your leadership and with the team that you've assembled, we can have a profound impact on existing customers of Regions Bank who are listening, and some of those that aren't. I mean, I'm thinking about what you said about looking at these portfolios. It doesn't cost anything to look. And sometimes if you're a high net worth individual, or if you're rapidly expanding, but things are going well. It's just nice to know that you got it right.
Yes.
Just as much as it is to know that you might have it wrong.
It is.
In your portfolio, in your plan. So I think that gives us, I love your term. You describe it correctly, trust and credibility. That's what we have.
Yes.
If our customers don't see that we're credible and have trust in us, I think that's what that separates. That separates who we are.
It does, and it sort of takes me back to just that other statement of, stop selling, start solving. It's really that simple. Stop selling, start solving. Yep. And for me, when we talk about just those kind of intimate relationships that we have with clients, where there's just trust, there's credibility, the client in their mind acknowledges these folks at Regions genuinely care about me, care about my well-being, care about my family. And after we get started in the relationship and we're able to execute and solve those needs and really deliver for them in the right way, I personally love it when 6 months, 12 months later, we get to check in and we're at their family home. We're meeting their kids. We're doing updates. We're at the places that they hold dear. And we almost start to become one of the family.
Yes.
And an extension of the family. And it's just accepted. These are our trusted financial partners who are going to help take us home, take our kids home if we're not here, and really help us with our life plan and meeting the goals financially that we've set forth. That's the place I love being at with clients.
And you guys are so good at doing that. It makes me think of something that a friend of mine said recently. And you and I are both dads, and we're girl dads too.
Yes, we are.
For so many times, I've looked at my children and I've said, you got to do this because I said so. Well, someone challenged me recently to change that to away from because I said so to because I love you. And it's changed my I'm the dad because I said so. And the kids, who wants to listen because we said the same thing in business?
Sure.
It's the same. Hey, you and I may be some of the smartest dudes in the room, but nobody cares what we know until they know that we care.
Exactly.
And in doing so, it is, don't do this because we're smart and we tell you to. We're recommending that you do this because we've captured your vision for what you want to accomplish, and we're giving you this advice because we care for you. I think that's a neat way to approach it, and I see it all the time from your team.
Yes, that's a great way to wrap it up, JD, and I just couldn't have said it any better than that.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Tell us in closing, something that people don't know about you. What do you like to do? You got a minute or so to give somebody a shout out. Tell us something we don't know or a shout out or something.
Sure. So one thing I love to do, a lot of folks who know me closely would know that I have two daughters, as you said, and they absolutely are just the joy of my life. My daughters are up right outside of the Philadelphia area at Lower Merion High School, which is the same high school that Kobe Bryant went to. And they really are the joy of my life. I've got a 12th grader and an 11th grader, and so they're just entertainment 24/7, right? And my oldest is on the verge of getting ready to decide where she's going to college, and so I'm just on pins and needles waiting for that decision to be made. But really, it's one of these things when you've been hanging out with your kids for 17, 18 years, taking them up to this point where they're now high school seniors, it's so refreshing to be able to join them at this place where they're about to take that next step and to really becoming their own adult and learning to take care of themselves, figuring out what their career, their future might be. It's an exciting time for me as I get to see these two young girls who are just awesome. They're dynamic, see what their future is going to look like.
It's exciting and heartbreaking at the same time.
It is.
I got a freshman at UGA, and she and some friends packed up in a car yesterday and went to Florida. And it's like the first time they've driven far, and I'm watching her on 360. But I too feel that same sense of pride because we've done it. We've done our jobs.
Yeah,
they're ready to go because of the investment that we've made in them. And by the way, not because we told you so, but because we love you.
Very well said.
Ty, thank you so much. It's been great. This conversation's been great. Thank you for listening to Regions Business Radio. Mike, I see you back there. Don't forget, I got to read the disclaimer one more time. Can you give me some bumper music? Maybe there's something to go underneath. Thank you. That was a little comic relief. Investments are not FDIC insured, are not bank guaranteed, may lose value, are not deposits, are not a condition of any banking activity, and are not insured by any government entity. This information is provided for educational and general marketing purposes only and should not be construed as a recommendation or suggestion as to the advisability of acquiring, holding, or disposing of a particular investment. Nor should it be construed as a suggestion or indication that the particular investment or investment source of action described herein is appropriate for any specific investor. But I'll tell you what is, Ty Smith and his team at Regions Private Wealth. Thank you for tuning in today, and Ty, thank you for being our guest.
Thanks so much, JD. Appreciate you having me on.